morning everybody and welcome back. Since the last video, we've done a little bit more work to Ray, and it was mainly simply to get it down to C10 Nationals in Fort Worth, Texas last couple weeks. To get it there, we had to install some of the things that kind of showed off what the truck is going to be like. So we put in the pedal assembly, we put in the steering column, we put in our brake master cylinders, the seat shifter, and a lot of those little components to kind of show off some of the products that we'll be releasing to the public. But today we've got a few more tasks at hand to kind of wrap up that'll kind of put a bow on some of the suspension. Dylan was willing to help me do some work today, so he's on the other side of the shop doing some sheet metal work. He's gonna make that stuff, and I'm gonna jump on the rear end and I'm gonna work on mounting my rear sway bar and figuring out how far away I can be from the rear end and how long my sway bar arms need to be. I already designed and laser cut my tabs for the rear end to weld on, and I've already made the end links. So I've just been waiting on those parts from Speedway to come in so I can actually get the bar itself on. But before I dive into that, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about some new products that we're working on and that are in development and are going to come out over the next few months. One of them is our hydraulic clutch package, and it's just a package for the hydraulics. Later on down the road, we're going to be releasing a reproduction pedal, a clutch pedal and pedal hanger for the people that can no longer find those in a salvage yard. But for right now, we're only doing the hydraulic packages, and then you would reuse the clutch pedal and clutch pedal hanger on the inside of the truck. One caveat to that is that automatic trucks, and I don't know if we talked about this in the last video, but automatic trucks did not have this horseshoe piece in here that has the captured nuts in it. So manual trucks are the only ones that got this horseshoe part welded into them. So we are right now in production on a weld-in part so that you can bolt in the factory clutch hanger and clutch pedal assembly. So for now, you'll have to just grab a pedal hanger and a pedal lever off of eBay or from a local junkyard. Honestly, there's still a ton of them out there. We actually found a hanger that was overstock in a Chevy dealership still, so I feel good that we've got a little bit of time before I have to make the hanger and the pedal lever. But for now, we're going to be making this bracket that you will weld in your cab, your automatic truck cab, and then those studs that come through the firewall from the factory on the factory pedal hanger are at like a 38-degree angle. So instead of trying to buy a part store master cylinder, we want to use a really good aftermarket master cylinder, and we want the ability to change out bore size. And the issue is that if you mount it, it will mount on the factory studs that are there, but it will be at an angle. And there are other kits out on the market that mount an aftermarket master cylinder on those studs. I just cannot live with them being mounted on their side and then remote mounting the reservoir. So we've developed this adapter. It slides over those factory studs and has a void machined into it for the Willwood master cylinder. And then there's like non-threaded studs that are machined into that keep a guide. And then there's a piece of 14 gauge steel that goes over those studs as well. And when you tighten the nuts down over the factory studs, it secures everything nice and tight. So we'll be selling the adapter, the plate, the hardware, the master cylinder, and the hose and bracket kit. And then there'll be multiple hose options depending upon what kind of release bearing you guys are using. So this is a new product in development. Another small little cool product that's in development is this chassis power bulkhead kit. It's going to just be simply a plate that's powder coated that's got captured nuts on it, and it will come with a mil spec connector that has plenty of circuits no matter what you guys have going on. So this will be a little package that we'll sell on our website. It'll come with cool little instructions that show you guys how to crimp the pins and terminals for these. So that's a cool thing I'm excited about. We've already been in production on these master cylinder adapters. OBS's most commonly did not have a manual master. So the easiest thing for us to do was to make an adapter plate that has threads so you can thread our studs in and then have a manual master cylinder on the OBS firewall without any cutting, drilling, welding, anything like that. So that's a few of the little products that we're working on for now. Just wanted to kind of run through those with you guys if you haven't seen them before. So anyways, other than that, let's go ahead and start working on that rear sway bar. There's a hook right there. making a mess. These bars I got through Speedway Engineering out in California. Speedway Engineering's been around forever and ever. The original owners were great, but it's probably been about a year ago, or a little more than a year ago, they just kind of shut down and nobody really knew what happened or if they were coming back. But after trying to call periodically, they finally answered the phone, and there's new owners now. So husband and wife team, they bought the entire company at auction, and so they got all the tooling, all the old parts, a lot of that stuff. So anyways, they had to move from one location to a new location. So they're now still kind of in the process of like setting up all the machines and getting like all tooled up and ready to go on like new bars. So I've got a 1-inch rear bar. These are the pillow blocks that I'm gonna use to mount the 1-inch rear bar. And then these are just little collars that keep the bar from moving left to right in the blocks. And then this is my 1 3/4 48 spline front bar. This is specifically a 1.62 step down bar. I don't have my front arms here yet. I did buy the front arms, they're just not here yet. I've still been waiting on those. It takes a very specific brochure to cut the splines. A lot of times, you know, if the manufacturer has a bunch of them, you can get some, but if they're waiting for a run to get done, sometimes it takes a while. They did have the aluminum arms in stock for the 1-inch rear bar, so I've got those. And I just bought the straight ones, so we got plenty of length to figure out how long this needs to be and what kind of rate we're gonna be looking at. So what I'm doing now is just simply putting jack stands under the truck in an area where I think I can run the sway bar. This may not work at all, but for right now, I want to give it a shot. I'm trying to keep the sway bar, or any weight for that matter, in front of the rear axle and low as possible. So my theory is that I might put it just in front of the axle, above the drive shaft, but below the upper third link. I have kind of a tight window, so we'll see if it'll work. If it won't work, we can always go behind the rear axle. I just prefer to keep that weight, 4 of it, because we are at full droop right now. So under the frame won't work. So with any kind of compression, we're into the rear end. This is a lot higher than I would like it to be. It's just that my brace that I had originally built is kind of in the way. And then we obviously need to get high enough to where the third link won't hit it either. So I think the safest thing for me to do at this point would be to I'm gonna pull these coil springs out of the coilovers, and I'm gonna run the rear end all the way up to shock bump. So that way we know we'll be safe. I have to go get some tools. All my tools are on the other side of the shop.
All right guys, so what we're doing now is we're making a trans tunnel cover for Ray. What I'm going through right now is going through and trying to hem the edge. It'll just add some more rigidity to it and make it less floppy of a panel, since it is only 18 gauge, which is what your factory floors are. Once we get that done, we have these little dimple dies that we buy that we're going to dimple it so that it makes room underneath the panel for the riv nut. That way it doesn't hold up off the floor. And then we'll probably just bead roll some, you know, pretty simple design in it, so it looks a little bit more factory and gives it a little bit more style.
So to get these coilovers apart, you have to run the adjuster all the way in, then take the adjuster cap off, or you just won't get it loose. So, well, now we know our upper limitation now. So I know that, you know, if I'm gonna get my sway bar up here, we know that already we can't put it below. It would be way too low. So what I'll do is I'll probably build mounts to mount the bar just above all this stuff. So I'll get those pillow blocks, I'll put the pillow blocks on it, and then we'll just shim up the pillow blocks to see how high it needs to come. Then I'll just hop in Fusion real quick and I'll design some risers. It just looks weird, but it's totally fine. We'll just see how long the arms need to be. Another variable is if you get too far away, so when the arms are long or short, that affects the rate of the bar. So a really short arm would be a really stiff bar, and the longer the arm, it would make it really, really soft because there's so much more leverage. So we want to keep the bar rate kind of high because our roll center is so low, there will be kind of roll in the truck. So I want to keep the rate as high as I can while being able to have some kind of adjustment. So we actually might want to make our mounts for our pillow balls to where we can move them front to back, and then we'll have different holes in the arms too, so then we can adjust the rate of the rear bar too. My brain went chill. Can I borrow these for a minute? Just high enough, isn't it? So what I'd like to do now is bring up our spreadsheet that we have. It shows the rate of this and then the length of arm and how it affects the rate. So we'll see how far back or what range of adjustment that we have on this. So what we've got on these arms is a potential 16 inches of length. So I'm gonna look at that chart and see how low it'll drop that rate. So we have a solid 1-inch bar that's 48 inches long, and at 15 inches, it's 133 pounds. And then at 10 inches, it's roughly 200 pounds. So we may want to give ourselves a good 3 inches of rate change. So since we have 3 inches we want around 3 inches of adjustability, I'm probably going to make it to where my pillow ball mounts that are on top of the frame have 3 inches of movement in them. And then keep in mind, I'll have like an extra 3 inches, like on the highest rate of bar left over, or of arm left over. So I need room for it to be able to travel back and not interfere with anything. So the tabs that I've already laser cut, we'll weld them off the front of the axle, and then that allows us to move this even more forward. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go get those tabs, and we'll see how far offset from the face of the tube the hole is. Right now I'm just kind of eyeballing this, and that's like 11.5 inches where it's at now. So I think what I'd like to do is get the center of the bar to 10, and then be able to maybe go back to 13. And these are just heavy duty rod ends from McMaster-Carr. If you guys aren't familiar with McMaster-Carr, you should check it out. It's just a huge hardware website. and they have a lot of warehouses around the country. We so happen to have one in Chicago, so we can order stuff at literally 5 p.m. and by 9 a.m. the next day they're here, ground shipping. But it's cool, you can actually download like 3D step files, 2-dimensional PDFs. You can see like what load rating they're for. But that's how we end up with a lot of this stuff. Something like that. I'm gonna see what my limitation is on moving it forward, at least at this height. It's about as close as it can get to the rear end. So that means it could get all the way down to like a 7.5-inch arm. So this could get pretty stiff. And with it being nice and high above that, all the excess can run back towards the coilover. I could spare like an extra 5 inches of arm. You know, if I went all the way up to the tightest or firmest point, I mean, I could let 5 inches hang back. Well, I'm gonna start taking some dimensions just on paper so I can draw these mounts. And like my widest that I can get, just to ensure that it clears the rail.
So right now, I'm just trying to, I kind of held this up there, got it where I wanted it, and kind of marked the bottom edge so I knew where the opening was. I had it a little off. As you can see, I have more space here than I do there. So I'm just measuring the difference, compensating all that over to move over. That way I make sure that I got all of my holes an even distance from the edge so it looks as aesthetically appealing as possible. Alright guys, so as you can see, we got all of our mounting holes in. It dimpled to clear the rib nuts that we're going to put in the floor that will hold this down. I went ahead and B-rolled a little design in it, just kind of matching the same shape as the overall panel. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to lay it on here. It seems to be fitting pretty good. I might have to make some adjustments to it once I get the holes drilled, but we'll see. So I'm going to mark the holes now. We're going to go ahead and drill the holes, rib nut it, and get it bolted on. I think it's a job well done.
I agree. All right guys, welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks since we last conceptualized where we're going to mount our rear sway bar, and over those last couple of weeks I've been able to do a lot of work behind the scenes and a lot of work on the computer that's just not that entertaining to film. So the whole idea was to be able to mount the sway bar in an area that I could easily get to it, move it front to back so I can change the rate quite a bit. So I got the mounts designed, laser cut, and broke, so they're here for me and Dylan to weld together today, mounts to the top of the frame. And I also went ahead and laser cut the tabs to weld onto the rear end housing, and then I machined the rear end links out of hexagonal aluminum, and those are all together too. So the amount of work that we have to do today to get all this mounted should be simple enough. So let's dive back into it. just gotta make sure that your pillow mount is like parallel, you know, with your bolt.
Lower control arm.
No, to the, so that when we take the bolt out and move it, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then we've got room to, you know, to move it in the holes. I'm just to the splines right there.
I'm just past the splines.
Your splines are in it or out of it?
Out of it.
It seems pretty close there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give myself like a hair gap.
Okay.
Well, I guess let's put an arm on. Make sure that the arm looks parallel to the lower control arm. I'm like perfect. All right, guys, so the bar and the arms are on, and I'm pretty happy. So this is the 1-inch solid bar, and we've got enough length here that I can, you know, so my first hole, let's say, will be here, and then I've got 4 inches of holes that I can use. And I'll trim this bar off and then be able to move it 4 inches back and forth. So that'll be a pretty good amount of bar rate change. So I'm pretty happy about this. So that's it for today. I'll head back in the morning. Welcome back, guys. It's Saturday morning, and today is a little more easy for me to work. Dylan was cool enough to help me yesterday afternoon for just a couple hours. What we did is we welded up those rear sway bar mounting brackets and got them bolted down to the frame. So it gave me a good head start for today. I don't have as much that I have to get done. It's going to be more of a casual, fun Saturday, just trying to get this rear sway bar all wrapped up. But anyways, what I have to do now is I need to get the bar square, make sure it's in the truck nice and square and perpendicular to the rear axle, which I think we're right on. So now all I need to do is mark all my bolt up, or all my in-link locations on the bar arms, and I'll pull those off and I'll go over to the drill press and I'll drill all those, and we'll get the in-links hanging. And then probably what I'll do today is just mark the locations on the rear axle so that maybe next week Dylan and I can pull the axle out from underneath the truck and TIG weld the in-link brackets to it. So anyways, thank you guys for diving back in on a Saturday with me. Let's go ahead and get these arms drilled. Okay, pretty happy with that. That's what we're looking at. And then I've got the ability to adjust these in links to get our height dialed in just right. But really happy with that. And like I said, now we've got plenty of room to soften this, or excuse me, firm up this bar. This will be the softest setting. So the longest arm, longest lever would be the most leverage, softest amount of bar rate. And then we can move it five holes. Should be a total of 4 inches or 5 inches to be 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. Yeah, 4 inches tighter. So, and then we got 4 inches of room back here for the bar arm to clear everything. So I think it's awesome. Pretty happy with that. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and trim up the other bar and then drill all of its holes. And that'll be about a wrap until I can pull this axle and tack these brackets on. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching that episode. I know we didn't get a lot accomplished, but as a lot of you guys know, that's just how it works. You know, you get a few hours here and there, and sometimes projects take a whole lot longer than you thought they would. So anyways, thank you for watching. I'm really happy with how that rear sway bar turned out. And a lot of you guys are gonna pose the question, why do you need so much rate change? Well, the answer is because we don't exactly know the rate that'll work best for our suspension setup, for the weight of the truck, for how sticky the tires are. So we wanted to give ourselves a broad window of rate change so that we can really dial in what's gonna work best for this truck. So anyways, thank you so much for watching that. One thing I also wanna talk about is our open house. Our open house is the first Friday in August, followed up by the Southern Illinois Truck Showdown, which is a giant truck show that's here in town the next morning, on Saturday morning. So if you guys are free, come out Friday night. We're gonna be offering, my buddy Davo's coming and he's gonna make tacos for everybody. It's BYOB, we're gonna just hang out, show you everybody around the shop and just drink some beers, eat tacos all night, and then that truck show's the next morning. So if you guys are free, come on out and enjoy that. If not, I'll see you on the next video.